The 6 most important principles behind training to build muscle. If you are looking to build muscle mass, then watch this video to the end because we are going to explain the 6 most important science-backed strategies crucial for building muscle. There are lots of myths and misconceptions around training for muscle. These are based on pseudo-scientific principles that have been passed down from generation to generation. The problem with these principles is that they can end up delivering subpar or haphazard results that can leave athletes demotivated or even injured in the long run. If you're struggling to see tangible changes in your physique, it may be because you're not using the right strategies. You may be dedicated, going to the gym and training really hard, but if you're not training according to the correct principles, don't be surprised if your body never changes. Muscle building is a slow process that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight and involves many factors. Competitive bodybuilders will spend the majority of their year in this phase, with a comparatively short phase stripping body fat. The key thing to recognize is that there are multiple ways to stimulate muscle growth. Once you've understood this, it's vital to figure out which way is going to work best for you. Here are the 6 most important principles to help you design your muscle building training program. 1. Understand volume and stimulating reps. In weight training, volume describes how much work you do. For instance, the number of repetitions, reps, of each exercise that you perform. It's simple. Increased volume over time is proportional to muscle gain over the same time period. Researchers have used many different approaches to measure volume. One of the most common methods, and the one we will be using, is sets times reps times load, weight lifted, equals volume. To maximize muscle growth, you need to create enough volume to reach stimulating reps, the point at which your muscles are fatigued enough to stimulate muscle growth. This can be achieved by doing lots of sets of heavier low-volume training or fewer sets of high-volume lighter training. Chris Beardsley of Strength and Conditioning Research looks extensively into the scientific principles behind how high-performing athletes can use science to improve their training goals and outcomes. In one of his articles, he breaks down training for hypertrophy or muscle growth. Chris suggests the best method involves 3 sets of 5 reps, as this is the most efficient way to achieve the crucial stimulating reps when training to fatigue. When training for muscle growth, the best way to measure volume is to count only those reps that involve the recruitment of high-threshold motor units while bar speed is slow. We can refer to these as stimulating reps. We do not yet know exactly how many reps in each set to failure involve the activation of high-threshold motor units while bar speed is slow, but it is likely to be approximately 5 reps, because 5 RM is the boundary between heavy and moderate loads. When lifting loads heavier than 5 RM, extra sets will need to be done to compensate for the smaller number of stimulating reps per set. When lifting loads lighter than 5 RM, the same number of sets to failure will cause similar muscle growth, regardless of the weight or volume load. 2. Progressive overload. Every bodybuilder and fitness expert seems to have some key training method for muscle growth. However, regardless how they package it, there is only one underpinning principle to ensure you keep getting results: progressive overload. It basically means you should keep making your training more difficult. Progressive overload relates to the need to keep increasing training volume to force your muscles to adapt and grow. The more you train, the more adapted you become, so you have to find ways to increase your volume enough to force consistent muscle building adaptations. Many people confuse progressive overload for progressively getting stronger, but the load on the bar is only one variable you can manipulate to increase training volume week on week. The aim is to create the adaptation and chaos in your program needed to stimulate muscle growth. One way to structure this is to consider using a blend of lower and higher volume style training methods. For example, training for 4 weeks at lower volumes and then switching the program to spend 4 weeks at higher volumes. Or change the type of exercises that you do during your session to vary your volume in different muscle groups. 3. Use eccentric overload, aka heavy negatives. When you train, you can use three main types of muscle action: concentric, isometric, or eccentric. These are present in most moves that you perform. Accentuated eccentrics, however, focus your efforts on the part of the exercise involved with lowering the weight. This type of training stimulates greater strength and size gains than pure concentric training. 4. Training to fail. Training to failure is advantageous for muscle growth, so bear this in mind when programming your sessions. This links in with the volume and stimulating reps we mentioned earlier. You have to train hard psychologically. It's only the final reps before muscle failure that really count. It's those reps when fatigue is high enough that you can't do another rep. 5. Recovery and overreaching. All this discussion of increasing volume and training to fail will inevitably mean two things. Firstly, that in order to progress, your recovery is going to need to be on point, including enough rest and the right nutrients. Secondly, at some point when pushing volume, you will overreach. Overreaching usually coincides with a reduction of performance in the gym, both in terms of strength and ability to increase volume. This will occur at some point in any progressive program. This is typically around the 8-week mark in experienced trainers. It is due to an inability to recover in short time frames and the large stress placed on the central nervous system and other important performance and muscle growth regulators. At this point, you want to take a deload, either resting for a few days or seriously backing off your volume and training far from fatigue. This should allow the body to recover, adapt, and grow. Time out of the gym sometimes does more for your muscle growth and longevity than time in it. 6. Nutrition and mobility. Alongside implementing the appropriate training mechanisms mentioned above, make sure you have the appropriate nutritional and mobility support principles in place. This will enhance your ability to grow. A calorie excess is key for growth, and being flexible also allows your muscle a chance to expand without being restricted by the fascia surrounding it. What do you think about these principles? Do you currently include any? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, leave your question so we can make further videos on these. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel so we can keep you up to date with the latest fitness and nutrition research. And if you want to upgrade your nutrition products, follow the link in the description to get your hands on the latest exclusive supplement offers from Amino.